Greetings, I'm Professor K, and in this short video presentation, we're going to take a look at how we go about creating a virtual install of Fedora server using VirtualBox. Currently, the version of Fedora server that we are working with is 35. If you don't like that version, wait a week and it'll be version 36. So regardless, if the version number changes, the steps for installing Fedora server do not change. They remain constant. So don't get wrapped around the axle just because the Fedora server has a new version number. The easiest way to get any Linux distro is to open up Google and in the search bar type in download followed by the name of the distro. In this case, I want to download Fedora server. So in the search bar, I've typed download space Fedora space server. And now I'm going to click on the first link that is presented to me in the results, and that's going to take me over to the Fedora download site. For most of us, we're going to want to download Fedora server, whatever the version number, standard ISO image for x86_64. That would be this one here. You go ahead and start the download. Once the download is complete, we will open up our VirtualBox Manager and we will begin the installation of Fedora server. My download of Fedora server is complete. I'm now ready to open up my VirtualBox Management Console and create a new virtual disk for the installation of Fedora server. To do this, I'm going to go up here to Machine and I'm going to click on New. In the dialog box that pops up, I'm going to give this machine a user-friendly name. I've called this one Fedora server. You are free to call yours whatever you want. I'm now going to select the location of where I want to save this virtual machine. I save all my virtual machines to a separate volume where I don't have to worry about taking up the space needed for my C drive. Underneath where it says type, you're going to pull down the window, you're going to select Linux. For the version, you're going to pull down that window and you're going to select from the option Fedora 64-bit. If you pull down this window and you do not see an option for any 64-bit operating system, that is because you have the Hyper-V feature installed on your Windows machine. You must uninstall that Hyper-V feature to be able to install 64-bit operating systems. We can accept the default for the memory, and we can also accept the default for the hard disk. Create a virtual disk now. Go ahead and click Create. On this next page, you're going to go ahead and accept the default, which is VDI. Go ahead and click Create. We have now created the virtual disk for the installation of Fedora server. Let's go ahead and find our virtual disk over in the left window pane of our VirtualBox Management Console. Once you find your virtual machine for Fedora server, go ahead and double click it. This new virtual disk needs a ISO image of Fedora server to begin the installation. Go ahead and click on the small folder icon over to the right. Now you're going to browse on over to where you saved that download for Fedora server. Go and click on the Add button. Now you can browse on over to that location where you saved Fedora server. Once you have located the download for Fedora server, just go ahead and double click it. The last thing you have to do is click on the Choose button and then Start, and the installation process will begin. On this first menu that pops up, you're going to go ahead and select Install Fedora Server 35. Hit Enter. Let's go ahead and make this full screen. On this first screen that pops up, we're going to select our language. I'm going to go ahead and select English United States. I will go ahead and click on Continue. On this next screen, you're going to go ahead and click where it says Installation Destination. On the next screen, you're going to select Automatic. And once you've done that, you're going to go up to the upper left corner and click on Done. That's going to return you to the previous screen. Here you can create a root account. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. On this next screen, we're going to check the radio button to enable the root account. And now we're going to give it a root password. Make sure that you remember the root password. If you're considering using SSH to log into the server, go ahead and check that box. It won't hurt nothing if you do. When you're done there, return to the upper left hand corner of the screen and click on Done, and click one more time. Once you've done all that, you can begin the installation. Go on down to the lower right hand corner of your screen and click where it says Begin Installation. Once the installation process is complete, we can do a reboot of the system, but before we do that, we must first unmount the ISO image for Fedora server. To do this, we're going to go up to Devices, we're going to go to Optical Drives, and we're going to remove the check mark for Fedora server DVD x86_64-35-1.2.ISO. You're going to get a message that it's unable to eject the virtual optical disk. That's fine, just go ahead and do a force unmount. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and go to the lower right of your screen and click on Reboot the System. If the server hangs during the reboot process, just go on over to Machine and do a reset. When it restarts, you're going to select the first option in the startup menu for Fedora server, press Enter, and you'll be brought into this next screen, the Fedora login. You're going to log in as root, hit Enter. Now you're going to type in that root password. This is how Fedora installs. It is a headless server, which means there is no desktop. What we're going to do next is install a desktop for the Fedora server. The first thing we'll want to do is update our installation of Fedora server with the latest packages. To do this, at the root prompt, I'm going to type in DNF space update. Once I got that typed in correctly, I'm just going to go ahead and hit Enter. The update process is going to take some time, so go ahead and get yourself a cup of coffee, go watch some TV, and come back in about 40 minutes, maybe a half hour, and you'll have your installation ready to go. At this next prompt, I'm going to type in the letter Y to accept the default of downloading all of the packages. Once the packets have all been downloaded, then the upgrading begins. Once the installation is complete, let's go ahead and do a reboot. At the prompt, I'm just going to type in reboot and hit Enter. Go ahead and hit Enter for the first option. Once the machine does reboot, go ahead and log in as root. So the next thing we have to do is install the desktop for our Fedora server. So at the prompt, I've typed in DNF space -Y space group space install space in double quotes basic with a capital B space desktop with a capital D, close that off with a double quote, give it a space, and type in the word GNOME. Once you have all that typed in correctly, just go ahead and hit Enter. And now the packages will begin to download and install, and we have just a couple of more commands that we have to type in before we can get to a desktop. You can see that for us to get a good desktop, it's going to take the downloading of 917 packages. So this is going to take some time. So again, be patient. Once the packages have been downloaded, it's going to do a transaction check, and then the upgrading or the installation process will begin. Once we have installed all the files we need for our desktop, let's go ahead and remove or clean out any unneeded packages. To do this, at the prompt, I've typed in DNF space clean space packages. Go ahead and hit Enter. Once the packages have been cleaned off, let's go ahead and do a reboot. Once the machine is rebooted, go ahead and log on as root. Now to get our desktop, all we have to do is just type in the command start X, all one word. Hit Enter. And our desktop begins to load. Down here at the bottom, you have your quick launch, you have your calendar, files, software, and show applications. If you click on show applications, you can then go up here into the search bar, type in the name of the application you want to launch, and you can find it. Once you've logged in, you want to stop Fedora Server from kicking you out after 5 minutes of inactivity. To do this, let's go on over here to the power button, click on that, and from the context menu, select Settings. Once Settings loads up, you can go ahead and scroll on down from the left window pane and click on Power. Over here, you'll see that you have power saving options. It's going to turn the screen off after a period of inactivity. It's set to 5 minutes. Go ahead and pull that down, and you can select that to be Never. Automatically suspend. Pause the computer after a period of inactivity is set to Off. Alright, so go ahead and close that out. Let's go ahead and restart the server. Go ahead and click on Restart. So that we can skip having to log in at the prompt, we can go ahead and configure the machine to take us right up to a classic logon screen that will take us into the desktop for our Fedora server using the following command. The first command that we're going to type in is echo space, and this is going to be wrapped in quotes, double quotes, exec space /usr/bin/gnome-session, close off the double quotes, give it a space, a greater than and another greater than, give it a space, the utility, a / period, XINITRC. Once you have that typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. Comes back to the prompt letting you know that that command completed successfully. We're now ready to type in start X one more time and hit enter. Let's go ahead and restart the machine, and let's see if that last command did take. Our last sequence of commands did not work, so we're going to have to type in one more command. Let's go ahead and log in on as root. So at the prompt, I've typed in systemctl space set-default space graphical period target. Once you have all that typed in correctly, go ahead and hit enter. And it's going to create that symlink that it needs to be able to boot to the desktop. So let's go ahead and do a reboot and see what happens. And if you get the classic logon when you do the reboot, you know that the command did work. So we're going to go ahead and log on as root, and we're going to enter our root password. This is the new GNOME desktop. This is version 41. So they've got everything now consolidated into the quick launch down here. You no longer have the applications menu up here on the left. It's all down here. So you can go down to the quick launch and you can find your applications and show applications. And if you're looking for a particular application, just type in the first couple of letters of that name for that application, and it'll start bringing everything up that begins with those two letters, such as terminal. Now I have terminal up. Once I have the terminal that I want, I'm just going to go ahead and just double click it, give it a second, and it'll load up, and now I have access to the terminal. And so that's going to conclude this short video presentation on how we go about creating a virtual install of Fedora server using VirtualBox. You also got to see how we can add a desktop environment to Fedora server just by using a couple of commands at the CLI. I'm Professor K. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.